What if I told you there's a way to unlock and hack your push tree to have additional functionality? One of the cool things is that you can change the collection names. By default, you've got favorites and all the colors, but yeah, you can actually change it into something that is more for your workflow. So let me tell you how to do that. But first of all, I think it's good to have a proper backup. The push tree is basically a very good controller with a PC inside it. Inside that PC you've got also an SSD. To back it up, you need some kind of extra device like a USB to SSD controller. So basically you put your SSD in here and then of course put the USB part in your PC. And at that moment you can actually dump the whole contents of your SSD to a disk. So the way to do that is by opening up your push. If you look at the back of your push, it's got a big heatsink. Yeah, unscrew the 5 screws here. Then you'll be able to unscrew those 3 and then the rest of all the screws. Be careful when removing the heatsink. It's got a thermal pad here, so ensure that it's that you don't rip it off or move that. And once everything is gone, in the back there's a SSD mounted. Just push back the plastic clip and then you should be able to pop it out. Once you popped it out, you can put it into your controller. So let me show you how to make a dump of that SSD. So I've got the SSD right here. So you just plug it in and then put it into your PC. Or in my case, I've got a MacBook Pro. Now the process is basically the same if you're using a PC, Windows PC or a MacBook Pro. Or MacBook or whatever, you're going to dump or make an image of the full SSD. So just plug it in, and I'll show you how to control it. First of all, it's good to know what are your default disks. So if you open up a terminal, there's a tool called DiskUtil, and you can then list all the current devices. So as you can see, I've got 2 devices, one internal and one synthesized, which is just an image which resides here. So now I'm going to plug in my SSD. Okay, I've plugged it in. And let's check the list. Now, instead of the 2 disks that we already had, I now have got an additional disk. In this case, the most important part is this /dev/disk4. Now, by default, macOS will mount this MS-DOS volume, so you need to unmount that first. So we need to use super user rights for that, and then run DiskUtil, and then unmount disk, and then all the partitions on that disk, just to be sure, just disk4. Type in my password. Voila. And now we can make a complete dump. So we're going to use convert and copy for that. So we do sudo dd. The input file is going to be, of course, my disk4. And my output file is going to be a location on my disk. So I'll put it in users, my name, and then call it whatever you want. I'll call it push3.image. I'm going to use a block size of 1 megabyte, and I want to get to know the status, so I just put in status and then know the progress of that status. Now, depending on the size of your SSD, or depending on the speed of your converter, this will take some time. So just let it run. And wait till it's finished. Okay, so once that's done, you can then eject the disk. So let's eject the disk4. Sudo DiskUtil eject /dev/disk4. And then I need to put in my password again. Okay, so now we can unplug the converter. Put, of course, your SSD back into the push, and then power it on again. and then we're ready for the next step. Once you've started up your push again, yeah, everything should be just fine. It should boot up. We didn't change anything. So right now we're going to do the magic, and the magic is actually going to create a public SSH key, and that SSH key is going to be uploaded to the push. So let's create a key first in our terminal. Let me create a key with SSH keygen. We just accept the defaults. It's going to create an ID inside the hidden SSH folder. So no passphrase, and then just enter, enter, enter. Next, we need to take a look at the key. So we go into the folder, and if we list that folder, we see 2 files. So yeah, we need to get the contents of the public key. We can do then cat id rsa.pub. So this is the actual RSA key, so the SSH key. So next what we need to do is open up a browser. So we've got our browser open, the push is started, and if we go to http push.local, you should get a blank screen. And by the way, perhaps now it's also a good time to make some backups from the current files. So you can do this by putting in push.local/logs. The push wants you to connect. So yeah, I enter the code that I see here. So it's 826838, and then it start collecting the logs. The nice thing about the logs, if we show that in the Finder, is that if you unzip the file, it gives you all the files that we actually use, and one of the files that we're going to change is a library. So in a way, we've got a nice backup of the files also right now. Anyway, the most important part now is now that we've got our SSH key, we can enter it into our push. And there is a hidden page, which I found, and it's called /SSH. So the nice thing is now we can push our public key to our push. So yeah, we've got our public key here. So let me copy over all this information and then do a copy. And then we go to our browser, and then we paste it in. And then once we say add SSH key, our push prompts for the following, and it's well, the site is saying the following: press Shift, Select, and Settings button on push to confirm. Now I think there's a time limit for that, so I'm doing Shift, Enter, and that failed. So if you look at my Chrome screen, it says actually failed. So I think you need to do it quite quickly. So yeah, we try it again, and then I press it quickly like that. And then if you check your browser, it will say SSH key added successfully. Now comes the cool part. We can actually connect to our push. So let's go back to our terminal again. And now we should be able to run SSH and then connect to our push. We need to do that with an account. And in this case, it's the account Ableton. And we're going to connect to our push.local. And then, yeah, when you first time connect, say, will you continue saving the fingerprint? And we say yes. And then we're in. This is actually the Linux part of our push. And the cool part is now then we can edit some files. And like I said, one of the most interesting files is, of course, changing the collection names. So that file is located in inside a folder called data /config and then Ableton Live. And depending on the version you've got, I've got an update already, so 11.3.10. But if you don't have that version yet, you need to go into that folder. But in my case, I've got live version 10 already, or 3.10. And in here, there is a file called library.cfg. So we can edit that, and we can edit it with VI. So yeah, VI is not the most easy to use editor, but I'll show you how to use it anyway. So it's a good practice, by the way, to make a copy of that file first. So we copy library to library.cfg.org or something, whatever you want. And now we can edit the library file. And in here, there is this label info. And there, actually by default, I've changed mine already. But by default, you'll see here favorites. And then here the display name are just empty. So let's presume I'm going to change this one. And yeah, I'm going to make it into whatever you want. And then write it. Now that it's written, the issue is actually that if you reset or check the push right now, it will not show because the file is loaded and actually the software is also active. So if I would check now my device and see if I can actually check that collection, yeah, the old name is still there. So yeah, there is a way to, we need to do some workarounds for that. Let me show you what you need to do first, actually, in the terminal. If you look at all the processes, it actually shows you that, yeah, the push software is running. It's actually this process. So we've got the live process running here, and also the push tree software running. But there's also a crash pad handler. And the thing is that parts of the software is using has got one main process, which is this process, and that's the xpython 3 exe. The thing is that if we kill one of these, or if we kill this one, it will be restarted by this xpython service. So we need to kill that first, and we need to know the process ID. So what I'll do is kill -9 and then the 681 process. The 681 process. So at the moment your push will still work, but the next thing that will kill is the live itself. So if I look at this one, that's this process, the 731. 731. And if I check now all the processes, yeah, it should be gone. So push tree is still running, but live is not running anymore. That also means that right now, if you check your push, I can go back here and see, well, it's still responding. But if I try to launch, let me see if I can actually open up a set, for example, it just hangs. So it will not run anymore. But that's a good thing, because right now we can actually change the file. So let me go back to my terminal. And let me now change the file again, because most likely while killing it, it just rewritten the old part again. No, it didn't. So it's still that strange label name. So I just quit out of that. Oh, and by the way, VI is, if you go with your cursor to the part that you want to edit, you press I. So now you're in insert mode, basically, and you can edit the file. Push tree demo. And once you're done editing, you press escape. And then, yeah, you notice that you're not in insert mode anymore. And now we can write, type. So we type colon and then write quit, and then it's written. So next thing is we need to reboot our push. Now rebooting can be done, of course, using the power switch, but can also be done by the command line. The only thing is that by default in the Ableton user, I don't have reboot or shut down. like any normal Linux environment. So what I need to do is I need to log in as root. So I exit, and then I can log into my push again with the root account. Voila. And then I can actually do a reboot. Now my display cleared, and in any moment it should start again. Yeah, so we crashed unexpectedly. Do you want to revert the old project? Well, no, I don't need to. And then we're back. And now if I check my my actual collection, I should have another name now called push tree demo. I don't know if it's very visible on the screen, but it's yeah, it's changed. So what else can we do? Well, as I just showed you, it's a Linux machine. So yeah, if we check our console again, or our terminal, we can log back in. And by the way, it's best to log in with Ableton instead of root. With root, you've got more access and basically also the higher potential to destroy things and brick your Ableton push. So what else can we do? Well, if you examine the file system, you'll see that yeah, there's a data folder, which is interesting. So if you go to data and check there, you actually have the contents of your SSD. So the SSD has got yeah, this music part. So if you go to music, then go into Ableton, and there you've got actually your factory packs, your user library, your sets, etc., etc. So yeah, it's pretty cool that you can actually now browse your folder structure on the push itself. But the nice thing is also that right now you can actually see the CPU usage because it's Linux. So we can run top, for example, and in top, yeah, you actually can see the CPU usage. Right now the CPU usage is quite low, 4%. But if I open up a project, so let me go to here, open up my, yeah, I've got only one project at the moment. And then basically trigger the whole part. Yeah, you see that the CPU load. So right now it's playing something. And if I go to my terminal, yeah, it shows you that it's at 40% right now. So this is interesting to know that if you're preparing a live set and you actually want to know the CPU usage, you can by using top. Another interesting one is, of course, to know if there's enough free space. So you can type in free and you see how much memory is actually being used, and how much memory is free. And if it's actually swapping, so swapping is of course reading and writing to disk. Should be fine, but it's an SSD and it's very fast. But still, it's interesting to know. Another thing that might be interesting to know is the temperature of your CPU, for example. So you can actually check that by looking into a file. Let me show you where it is. It's in thermal and then thermal zone. I want all of them and then temp. So here I can actually see that the temperature right now of my push, or yeah, one CPU is, or the other CPU, or I don't know exactly which part this is, but right now it says 49, so that's 49 degrees Celsius, and the other part is 44 degrees Celsius. And you can basically monitor this, right? So, or what you can do is you can put a watch in front of it. So right now, every 2 seconds, it will update and it will show you the temperature of your push. And why is this important? Well, if you have a high CPU temperature, it might actually throttle your CPU, which also impacts performance. So in a way, by opening up this way of your push, you get way more information. You can have fun with all kinds of files that you can change and edit. I also, last time I just connected my USB device with some MP3s on it, and I could mount it. So in a way, it's if you check Linux FS tab, I could have mounted something in my I can put something in FS tab and then actually mount that USB device time after time. Yeah, it gives all kinds of possibilities, and now you know how to do it. Just be careful, just don't brick your precious push. But hey, it's up to you now, and if you've got any new ideas, just post it in the forum or post it on as a comment. I'd like to know what you do with it. And by the way, if you like this video, just like and subscribe. Yeah, I hope to have some more push material in the future. I'm actually doing, I like techno a lot, so I picked up the hobby again, and creating some techno. Push tree is awesome so far. I like it a lot. So yeah, if you want to learn more and listen to my music, just do, please do, and see you next time. Take care. Bye.